Alrighty guys, welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about Rise of the Ronin. Before we get started guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, and just a little disclaimer, we do stream every Wednesday at 7 p.m. as well as Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. So make sure that you guys are subscribed so you'll be notified whenever we go live. Without further ado, let's jump right into my thoughts of Rise of the Ronin. So this is definitely pretty late. Rise of the Ronin came out about almost a year ago. I think it came out in March. So we are super late to the party on this one. We're currently trying to get stuff ready to move, and so I'm not trying to spend as much money on games, but I have a huge backlog. So this is one of the games that I just randomly picked up and I'm like, hey, we're going to play and beat this one. And here we are. I'm just going to be honest. This game's been out for a while. There's not a whole lot that hasn't been said that needs to be said, I guess. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think this game is incredibly okay. It's very mid. There is very little, like, it's weird. I don't hate the game, but I also don't love it. I feel like this game does more things wrong than it does things right. Or not even right. It's hard to say. It's like the highs in the game are like okay, but then the lows are like, okay, yeah, this is kind of bad. It's basically a jack of all trades, master of none. This game tries to do a ton of stuff, and it does them okay, right? Like, I don't think it does necessarily anything flat out terrible, but it's just that everything this game does try to do, there's another game out there that just does it much better. For example, like, I think that if you're wanting to play a samurai game, games like, you know, Ghost of Tsushima and maybe even like Sekiro are just better samurai games in my opinion. I just think that everything that Rise of Ronin tries to do, there's another game out there that just does it much better than this one, and it makes it really hard to like recommend this game, if that makes sense. Like, the entire time I was playing this game, I'm like, man, I kind of just want to play Ghost of Tsushima, because Ghost of Tsushima does everything that this game is trying to do, but better. You know, let's just kind of break it down just a little bit. I'm going to go over some of the things that like I said, I didn't love anything in here, but things that I liked, and then we'll go over some of the things that I didn't quite like, right? I think that the setting of Japan is really good. I really like the world that it is trying to create. I really like that era, very much like what the show Shogun was trying to do. I think this game is around that same setting, so very cool, very interesting. I really like that. I also think that the story is okay. Like I said, basically it boils down to you have the Shogunate faction. There's two main factions. There's more as you go throughout the game, but for 90% of the game, you got the Shogunate, which is the followers of the Shogun that want to keep things, or want to expand and want to welcome these new outsiders, stuff like England, Britain, and even some of the Americans, and try to expand Japan. And then you have the anti-Shogunate faction that is very much like anti any of these outside foreigners coming in, and they want Japan just to be Japan, if that makes sense. I really liked that struggle. You got your characters that you and Ryoma is very cool, and you kind of are in the middle where you could see both sides, like, you know, this will be good for the people, but then also this is not necessarily good for Japan, this is good for other things. So that's kind of what this story centers around. As I said earlier, a lot of these things are just okay. I think the combat is okay. If anything, I personally didn't like it as much, but it's okay for what it's trying to do. I think also that the world is also okay, like, and what I mean by that, like the open world, as far as things to do. It's very Ubisoft formula, if that makes sense. There's cats for you to pet, there's shrines to pray at, there's, you know, things for you to glide down and try to do the little kite thing. So there's like a lot of like just little open world activities that's very Ubisoft, if that makes sense. Think of all of the Assassin's Creed open world games, and this is very much, it's just a checklist, right? There are some side quests, like character side quests. We'll get into those a little bit, but I personally didn't really like any of them other than Ryoma, but Ryoma's one of the only characters that I actually liked. And kind of going in with him, his, like, all of the voice acting I thought personally was flat out terrible for the for the English voice actors, except for Ryoma. His was so laughably bad that I actually liked it. Like, just the way that his character was just like very, like, his character was just so goofy and funny that I actually really liked the way his voice actor portrayed his character. So one of the other things, this kind of goes a little bit with the comment, I actually really liked the fact that you can parry like the bullets and the lanterns and all that stuff like that, so you can get like the fire on your blades, electricity on your blades. for a few seconds, and I thought that was really cool. The glider itself was actually pretty cool. I like that you can glide from building to building, and then even you can glide and call your horse and basically fall down on your horse. I thought that was a cool transition. I didn't use it as much in combat just because the enemies, I felt like, saw you fairly quickly, so there's a few times where you can like glide and drop down and take them out and whatnot. But it's pretty much the list of things that I actually like enjoyed, and even like I said, I didn't like love these things. These things were just okay, if that makes sense. Passable, very passable. The combat itself, very passable. Now, going into some of the things that I didn't like. So, as we're on the topic of combat, I think combat is king, and the combat here I think is just really repetitive. In my opinion, I think all of the enemies are extremely spongy. I actually even dropped the difficulty, I don't know, about halfway through the game, just because it wasn't necessarily that it was hard. It's just like I felt like I was fighting these enemies, and some of them weren't even bosses, forever. Like when I was trying to take out these camps, I'm sitting there fighting these, you know, these regular enemies, and I'm just smacking them like crazy with my samurai sword, with my katana, and it's just taking forever to take these enemies out. I actually dropped it down to like easy. I think there's only 3 difficulties, just so that I could get through the game just a little bit faster. And even then, towards the end, like, you fought a lot of bosses that even on easy were still like kind of spongy, actually. Like, I wouldn't say that they were hard. I didn't necessarily die a whole lot, but man, I was smacking on them for what seemed like ever. I couldn't even imagine playing that on normal or even like their harder midnight difficulty. It's just like, I hate when games, their idea of making it difficult is like, oh, let's make the boss or the enemies extremely spongy, but then also make them do like 10 times the amount of damage. Like, I don't know. For me, that's just personally not fun. Like, I think the gameplay is just really repetitive, in my opinion. I also didn't, this is kind of like a side note, I didn't really like the controller configuration, especially with these hack and slashes. I like to use the bumper and the trigger. I mentioned this a little bit, but I think all of the voice acting, other than Ryoma, is kind of bad. If I'm being honest, it was just kind of like cringy bad, where you're like, I'm not really liking this. Maybe I should have listened to it in Japanese, but I also mentioned this earlier as well, but the open world is extremely Ubisoft formula, very bland, very repetitive, doing the same things over and over again. You guys can even see it up on my streams. For like the first like half of the game, I was trying to like 100% each of the areas, because I'm not OCD, but I'm OCD when it comes to games, right? I like to do everything before moving on to the next thing. I feel like I have to complete everything in an area before moving on to the next one, right? And that I'm only with that with games, nothing else. And I just feel like after a while, I was just like, okay, now it just feels like a chore to like go and do all of these side things, because it's the same thing over and over again. Just petting all the cats, fighting all the horse races, finding all the kite things, clearing out the refugee camps, or fugitive camps, sorry. Even the side quests I thought were pretty boring, to be honest, after a while. Like, every mission is very much like you can pick your companions, you go throughout, you find a few tough enemies, take them out, and there's a boss at the end, right? And every single mission is like that. When you're not doing like just the open world stuff, every single mission is like that. And it just got extremely repetitive and boring. And honestly, after, like I said, about halfway through the game, I just kind of sped run through everything. It's the very same as like Ubisoft, where I just kind of got bored and like, all right, I just need to beeline the story. And so that's what I did for like the last half of the game. I was like, I just want to get I just want to get through this game. I just want to figure out what's going on. I don't want to do any of these side quests, which is unfortunate, because there's other games where like The Witcher, where you just get lost in the side content. So you're like, oh yeah, I haven't actually beaten anything with this main story. This game does not do that. And then the other thing with the story, I said it was okay. The thing that I really didn't get is that you have like your blade twin, which at the beginning I thought was cool, that you can kind of customize both of them and choose them. And at the beginning, there's like basically one gets captured and gets their arm cut off, and the whole point of you going and doing all these things is you're trying to find your blade twin, they're your family, just to find out that they're like evil. And your first time meeting them, they try to kill you, and you're like, wait, what? But you're like, you could tell not that much time has passed. Maybe a year at the most. Like, really not that much time has passed. But somehow you went from being like your family, like that's your person, that's the person you're looking for, to like they're trying to kill you. And it made no sense. Like, she could have at least stopped and talked with you and gave her, you know, her point of view, and like there could have been like a dispute in differences or ideologies or whatever, but like she just tries to kill you almost every encounter you find, and it's just like, it makes no sense to me, because I'm like, you guys literally went from being family to like mortal enemies, and then like you're not even willing to like talk to each other. I don't know, it just personally didn't make sense that much to me. There's a lot of things that this game tries to do, and I think it does them okay, but there's not anything particular that this game is trying to do that games like Ghost of Tsushima or Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, games like those that just do it what this game is doing much better. And that just makes it hard to like recommend and tell people to go play this when there's other games out there that just do it so much better. Honestly, this is my third Team Ninja game, and I'm just convinced that Team Ninja is just not, they don't make games that I enjoy personally. They have like games that I feel like I would like. I love the RPG elements. I love that they are kind of like a From Software-esque studio, but it's just like, I've played 3 games and I have not enjoyed a single one of their games that I have played. I actually quit playing Wulong Fallen Dynasty just because I was just getting so frustrated. And this one has a lot of the same issues as that one. This one's definitely a little bit more polished, I believe, than that one. But just like, I wasn't feeling the combat. It just feels very like janky to me. I think, like, I'm not a big loot person either, and I feel like every time I find a good sword, like 5 seconds later, I find another sword that does more damage, and so I'm constantly in my inventory, and where I spend more time trying to manage my inventory than playing the game. Like, I hate that. I don't like that. And so all 3 games that I played did that. And then Stranger of Paradise, which is like the Final Fantasy 1 remake type thing. I'm not sure exactly, but it's Final Fantasy. And even that game, I probably liked the most out of all the ones that I played, but not enough to be like, oh yeah, you should go play Stranger of Paradise. I think their gameplay is very like okay. Some people really love it, and it's probably going to piss some people off, but I think the gameplay here is just not my cup of tea. I think there's plenty of games out there that are more fun to play than this one. I'm going to give Rise of the Ronin a 6 out of 10. I think that some of the stuff that it does is okay. I think that the story is okay. I think some of the combat elements are okay. Like I said several times already, I think just everything about this is okay. Not necessarily that it's bad. And so that's going to be it for the video, guys. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think of Rise of the Ronin. I got a couple of my streams up if you wanted to go check those out and see me basically get frustrated at the game. But I think it does do enough right that I think that giving it a 6 is a fair score. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. And don't forget that we do stream every Wednesday at 7, as well as Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. So love to see you guys there. Without further ado, we will catch you guys on the next video. Peace!